super thrilled today to introduce to you my amazing friend, one of the best theta healers in the world, clairvoyant, and just beautiful person, Anna. Anna, please tell us about yourself.
So yeah, I've been a theta healer for over 11 years. Recently I've become a business intuitive, so I'm using my intuitive and psychic skills to help businesses. So I've been helping a lot of students transform their mindset around self-worth, self-confidence, helping them transform their body from illness to wellness, personal challenges like relationship problems. And so over the course of like 11 years, I've had an opportunity to work with thousands of people across the world with predominantly mindset, how people think. And this is something I'm really passionate about. When we change how we think, we change our results, basically. And so I discovered that part of my unique gift and talent is really helping people create businesses as well. So working with some of my students then help create successful businesses as well.
Well, you know, the way that you and I have met and the conversations we have had and everything, it's pretty unique and one of a kind experience, to be honest with you. But what I really wanted to start talking about is, let's talk about theta healing and exactly what that is.
Sure. Yeah. So theta healing is an energy healing modality based on a meditational process. So it uses the connection to the creator, universal intelligence, God, whatever you call that energy. So anyone who does theta healing must have a belief in some higher power. Okay, and it's a process, very systematic process where people can attend like either private sessions or classes for transformation, and it's on every level. So it's like physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It was started about 27 years ago, created by a woman called Istanbul. She was based out in Idaho Falls, Idaho. She recently moved to Montana. That's where her center is, the Tanaha Center. And so I attended a student from one of her graduates as someone who wanted to improve my life. I was creating a lot of sabotage. I would start a business, sabotage the business, start a business, sabotage business, and I was really wanting to clear some of my blocks. So things about self-worth, money mindset, and really improve my life. So I was always seeking. So I attended a class and it completely like opened my intuition up, and my life radically changed. So very soon after, I was able to learn from Vanna Stable herself. So she came to London and she taught me the classes. And within the first day of the basic class, I realized I'm going to be teaching this work, that I can empower you, working with you one-to-one, but if I teach you this technique, I empower you for a lifetime. And so this modality is one of the fastest growing energy healing modalities in the world. As I said, it's incredibly comprehensive. So there are like systems and processes in the framework of the modality that allows you to work on any area of your life. There are, I think, over 1 million practitioners worldwide. I think it's in 152 countries. I think last time I checked, 152 countries. So it's around the world. I've had the opportunity to teach in Russia, and students flew from Russia and Kazakhstan, so I was able to teach there as well. So I've taught students from around the world, and what I've discovered is that fundamentally we're all the same. Different language, different culture, but fundamentally we are all the same. And so theta healing works on a premise that you must have a belief in some higher power, but you don't. It's not a religion. It's a way of life. It's a way of life.
And it's science-based, right?
Yes.
There is a reason why it's called theta, because those are the wave, right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So when Vanna was doing her research, so Vanna's very much into the science behind what she's doing intuitively. She was hooking people up to an electroencephalograph and watching the brain waves as she was working on people. And so the dominant brainwave somebody would be in is in the theta brainwave. So the theta brainwave is 0 to 7 hertz per second, and it's like a slow brainwave. It's the brainwave between being awake and being asleep. So when you're about to doze off in front of the TV, that's kind of the brainwave you go into. And that brainwave, you can access the subconscious mind. So we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And so being in this brainwave, we can access subconscious the mind, where a lot of our beliefs are stored. So we may have conscious beliefs about self-worth, conscious beliefs about how much we believe we can earn as an income, or our job position, or how we perceive ourselves in a relationship. But the subconscious may have different belief systems. And so through the theta brainwave, we can access the subconscious mind in a very rapid way and make those changes, reprogram the mind instantly. So you're not having to do affirmations, you're not having to do journaling, you simply make a command to the divine, to the energy of God, universal intelligence, to make the change instantly. And that's why I love it. We live in a world where people they want solutions fast. And something that really drew me to theta healing is I can start with a challenge with a client, and I can, in a very measurable way, go through a process where I get to a measured result. Whereas other energy healing techniques I've found is it can be very, very subtle, not necessarily measurable or quantifiable. It may be several sessions before there's improvement. With a theta healing session, you can have radical changes within one session. I know, G, you've had sessions with Skylar, and you've had transformations in your personal life.
I was gonna say, because I'm so fascinated with everything you're saying, but the reason why I'm so fascinated is because I had those sessions with you and Skylar, right? Anyone who's watching it, watch our interview with Skylar as well. Here's the thing, is that what I want to go over, well, first, could we talk about that immediate transformation a little bit as an example? Maybe give us a few examples, but then I want to go through the process of it because it's fascinating.
Sure,
okay?
Absolutely. So one thing I say in my class a lot is the issue's never the issue. So I've been working with mindset for over 20 years as a student of self-development and a teacher for the last 8 years. So I've worked with literally tens of thousands of people. And so you start to observe patterns, So in all my years of working, for example, with money blocks, so people come to me for two main reasons, money and love. Those are the
Who doesn't want that?
Exactly. Everyone's want more money. But when I started to dig down to find out the deepest bottom issue, it actually had nothing to do with money. There was always some other issue. So to put into context, there was a client, actually it was a student of mine, she actually had a session with me, and her fear was that she wanted to manifest a bigger house for her family. Her kids were getting bigger, taking up more room. They were simply outgrowing the house that they had, and they wanted a big house. But they're in a position where they couldn't quite afford the big house they wanted. And so she, came to me and said, look, we don't have the money, how do I do this? And so I started to use the process of theta healing, where you connect up to the divine energy, the creator, universal intelligence. You go into this meditation, and through that you can hear the guidance of the creator. So you go into stillness, you can start to hear the guidance of the creator. So what a theta healer does, they go using that meditation process, they're able to intuitively go into somebody's space and do what we call a body scan, intuitive body scan. That intuitive body scan allows me to look into your organs, your systems, the health of your body. I can go in and tune into your spirit guides, your angels. I can also go into past lives as well. But I can also look into the energetic patterns that you're running in your body in regards to belief systems. And that's what I'm specifically seeking. What beliefs is my client running that's holding them back from the result? So this is something I said to you in the car last night when we were out, is that the body is like a universe. There's so much going on that unless you're specific, you're going to get very distracted because there's a lot going on energetically here. Right? Every cell is like a universe. And so when a client comes to me and says, oh, I want to manifest this house, what is my block? I'll specifically go into someone's space and I'm asking the universe or the creator for that specific information. I'm scanning the energy field of the person and say, okay, show me where are the blocks the person has in regards to this specific issue. And the body will light up for me. It'll start to speak to me. So I'll see in the heart, the fear of rejection, the fear that if I put myself out there, that I'll be rejected and I'll let people down. That if I reach for the big goal and I can't make it, I'm going to let people down. Belief systems that they may have inherited. So I might see generational beliefs, and so it could be generational beliefs, say from the father's line, and I tend to see it on the right side of my client. Down the father's line, I'll see how many generations back is this fear around money, not being able to afford your dreams, holding yourself back. So I'm scanning for that energy. So this requires training. So obviously I've been doing it for a long time, so I can pick up the information very, very, very quickly. And so as a result of the body scan, I'm able to ask lots of different questions while I'm in the body to get an indication of what's really going on. And so in the instance of this client, the creator took me to a childhood trauma. And I said to her, I'm being shown like you're in a big house, it's dark, you're frightened. Do you remember this? I'm being shown something around 5 years old. She goes, oh, oh my God. She said, my parents had to go away to travel for work because they couldn't find work in there, so they had to go away. And they left me with my grandparents. My grandparents had this big, huge house on a farm. And she says my grandparents were not necessarily affectionate people, they're a little bit cold, so just very sort of functional people. And so they took her, this 5-year-old, they put her in her own bedroom on a big grown-up bed and switched off the lights. And so no bedtime stories, no bedtime light. And so her subconscious had anchored big house, scary, ghosts under the bed.
Whoa.
So it had nothing to do with the money. The subconscious was creating money as the surface excuse. And again, like in all my years of experience, people use money as a cop-out. If they say, I can't afford it, I know that's not the real reason. It's the usual excuse people give. And I've discovered that if people are really motivated, they'll find the money. If their child is, dying from cancer, they'll find the money for the medicine, right? They're highly motivated. It's about how highly motivated they are. So in her mind, she created this excuse, I don't have the money to manifest the house. But deeper down, she made this anchor of big house, scary, right, from the mindset of a 5-year-old. Right. So although she was a grown woman in her 30s, the programming was created by a 5-year-old, which had the association of big house, scary. So what we had to do is ask the creator to release the trauma. And so trauma is held in the physical body and predominantly in the nervous system. And if you imagine that the nervous system is like a circuit, it's like a circuit of energy. And so anytime we say a word, we have triggers around that. Okay, and so for her, big house, there was like some sort of interruption in the circuit that meant big house, scary, big house, scary. So we just had to ask the creator to release the trauma, show her that she's safe, that it's over. Yeah, and so we did some other, belief work around self-worth, but predominantly the core part of the healing was teaching her, that little 5-year-old, that she's safe, that it's okay, and that it's okay for her to grow up and have the big house now.
Did she?
She did. So then she comes back to me back a couple of weeks later and she says, we found the house. She says, we're paying less for it than we thought we had to pay. She says, it's a little bit of a renovation project, but I was looking for a renovation project because I wanted to create the kitchen that I wanted rather than what somebody else wanted.
So she got exactly what she wanted.
She got exactly what she wanted. Nice. So, I mean, I see this all the time. So when I work with, for example, clients who want to attract a soulmate, they'll say, I've been single for ages, like there's no good guys, all the good guys are taken. It's the story they tell themselves. And when we start to repeat something over and over again, it's actually a belief. And we start to create that belief by reaffirming it, right? What we say, we create, right? So if we constantly say, I can't afford it, that becomes reality. If you keep saying, well, all the good guys are taken, they're broken, they're damaged, they only want one thing, that becomes your reality and that's what you attract. And so what I discovered is the first part is obviously finding out what the bottom or deepest belief is, right? The bottom deepest belief. And sometimes the bottom deepest belief is, I'm not enough, I'm worthless, I'm nothing, God's abandoned me. It's generally those kind of programs tend to be the deepest bottom belief. The next step, before you pull the bottom belief, you need to find out how it's serving somebody. So, why would the subconscious want to hold on to a negative belief like I'm worthless, right? So when you dig down to a woman who is single, on a deep level, she's feeling deeply insecure. So, we're here in LA and, everyone's, having, like work done on their face with nose jobs and, bandages, and it's just a normal thing here. So what they're doing is they're doing an external process to try and heal an internal problem, which is somewhere as I'm aging, somehow I'm less attractive, therefore I'm less valuable, right? So they're thinking more Botox, more filler, more facelift is going to make them feel younger. And so there's a lot of pressure for women, But it's
men too.
This is true. This is true. So on a deeper level, the work that we do is to find out what was underneath that. So there's this deep feeling of I'm not enough. And so how society values women as they grow older, if you're getting overweight or if you have crinkles, that somehow you are less attractive or less worthy. So on a deep level, there's this feeling of I'm not enough. Now, why would the subconscious want to hold on to a limiting belief like I'm not enough? Somewhere it's getting something from it, because the subconscious is, on some level, it's quite primitive. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you safe, right? So here's how it plays out. The lady's been single for a long time. She's gone from boyfriend to boyfriend, from relationship to relationship, maybe a divorce or two, and desperately unhappy. She just keeps attracting, abuse, whether it's physical abuse or verbal abuse, psychological abuse. There's many ways, we abuse. Even neglect can sometimes be an abuse, can be completely ignored. And so her belief system is like, that love is pain, I'm not enough. So the way it serves a woman to stay single is, if I stay alone, I am safe. So if I stay worthless, I stay single, I get to protect myself from being hurt again. Although she's lonely, she's safe.
Let's make it personal. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Through one of your videos, I have discovered that, and I've never been overweight in my life, right? I'm always in a good shape. I have discovered that I have a belief that I'm overweight. So that belief was what was motivating me to exercise, to keep the proper diet and all that stuff, right?
And you eat very healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy. I've seen all the vegan ice cream in the fridge.
Keto.
Keto, yeah.
But like, definitely, even though that is not a healthy belief, but it was serving me. We've changed that, by the way. I hope.
Yeah, and you have a beautiful body.
Oh, thank you so much. But like, to your point, that we form those beliefs sometimes, not just out of like a fear of some sort or something. Maybe it's always based on fear.
Yes,
most likely, right?
Yeah.
But also sometimes it serves us. That's just
correct. Yeah, it's a motivator. It becomes a motivator. So let's put this into another context. So I've worked with millionaires and billionaires, the super wealthy. And my thinking was, well, you know, they mustn't have any self-worth beliefs at all. Like, they must feel really worthy to actually feel like they can earn this huge amount of money, right? And so when I was working with this billionaire client, when I started to dig down to her bottom belief, there was this feeling of I'm not enough. I was like really surprised. When I discovered that people who are like very, very affluent, they just expect the money to be there. They're just used to it. It's just what's in their comfort zone. It's like they expect the money to be there. So it actually wasn't linked to their worth. However, the lack of self-worth was creating sabotage in their decisions in regards to the way they spent their money. So in one of the examples with a gentleman that I worked with, what I discovered was that he grew up from quite a poor family. His parents worked in a Chinese restaurant. He never got to see his parents. They worked really, really hard, like long hours. And so he made a decision very early that he wanted to be rich and free and literally retire his parents. So he first discovered, I think it was property investment, and that's initially how he made his money, and then moved into personal development and public speaking. And now he is a multimillionaire. But as I started to dig down, there's this deep sense of fear, of insecurity, that the fear of poverty, the fear of being not enough, the fear of scarcity, the fear of not seeing his parents, that fear was motivating him to make millions. That was his motivator.
Okay, so let's talk about this. All right, so like I was giving my personal example, right? Something that a fear or belief that is like so-called negative, because I don't believe in negativity, but like, but it's my personal thing. Anyway, but like, let's say so-called negative belief or fear, but that actually serves us. So what's the point of getting rid of it?
So it's about what your motivation is. So if you're motivated by the belief of I am fat as a way to eat healthier, exercise like a maniac, you know, some women like literally starve themselves, right? They do these crazy, you know, diets and fasting. It becomes very destructive. So you're using a low level belief system like I'm fat, or I'm not good enough, or I'm worthless as your motivator to make money or to stay skinny. And you can achieve a certain level of success, but to a point, But the problem is it's never enough. No matter how much you exercise, no matter how skinny you get, there's this still belief of I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat. So it's perpetuating, right? So it's incredibly destructive, particularly for the ego, because you're always feeling I'm not enough, and it's actually quite painful. Right. It never feels, if you think about the belief of like I'm not enough, I'm not pretty enough or skinny enough, it's actually a very hurtful feeling.
But does it manifest physically, like into a disease or something?
Yes, yeah, it does, because our thoughts create a reality.
Right.
So in this experiment that was done, Asuro Emoto, he's passed away now. Asuro Emoto did the snowflake experiment, where what he would do is he would get bottles of distilled water. He would put labels onto the bottles, and he would put words onto the bottles. He would say words like ugly or hate, words like love, words like family, unity, right? And so when he then took that water and then took it into a lab to freeze the water, which would then create the snowflakes. Words like love made beautiful, beautiful geometric snowflakes. Words like family, that's one of my favorite ones. It's like a big snowflake, some snowflake, and a little snowflake.
No
that's
way.
my favorite one. He also did Buddhism, Quran, very different religions also made very beautiful snowflakes. The words like I hate you made this ugly shape. It wasn't even a snow, it just made this horrible ugly shape. When he took water from the Fujiwara Dam, again it made this ugly snowflake. But after the water was taken from the Fujiwara Dam and it was blessed by a Buddhist monk and frozen turned into a snowflake, it made a beautiful snowflake. So we are 70 to 85% water. So what we tell ourselves, either verbally into the mirror or our internal thoughts that we say about ourselves, programs the water in our bodies. So now let's take it on a quantum level, right? We are beyond cells, molecules, atoms, energy. So we are essentially an energy. And so when we are programming ourselves with negative belief, the energy is a low frequency. And if left unchecked, it starts to affect the cells and the molecules and cells, hence the rise of disease. It's dis-ease, when the body is not vibrating in a natural state. Our natural state is the energy of love. That's our natural state.
And that is a real motivator why those beliefs should be changed.
Absolutely.
So so obviously I'm gonna leave, guys, I'm gonna leave all the contact information and everything, check below. However, if the person, for example, cannot afford having like the theta healing or something like that, are there ways for them to kind of do self-healing?
Absolutely. One of the wonderful things that Vanna Stubble has created inside Theta Healing is that the scholarship program. So she says, for instructor, 1 in 10 students is on scholarship. Full scholarship, and it's something we've done. So it's for Theta Healing Basic, Advanced, and Dig Deeper. 1 in 10 students is on full scholarship.
When you say we, what is that?
So Vanna Stubble set this kind of guideline for Theta Healing instructors around the world as a guideline. Basically, it's the universal law that, when you give, you get back, basically.
Right.
So I know that if I put a person on scholarship, I'm going to have a class. So I never worry about the universe bringing me students.
Right.
So, to date, we've given away tens and tens of thousands of pounds in scholarships as part of our company. So we have requirements. So, for example, the unemployed, students, single mums on low incomes. And also I just tune into the creator and I say, for the highest and best, does this person need a scholarship?
Right.
And the universe brings those people to us. So don't feel like if you haven't got the money, there are ways to do that. And there are Theta Healing instructors around the world. We are one of the leading ones, the well-known and maybe the most visible, but there are other obviously instructors around the world. So you'll be drawn to the right instructor for you. We have 2 other instructors as part of our team, and so people are drawn to different teachers for different reasons. So 1 in 10. The other thing is Theta healers also take on some pro bono work. So each Theta healer a portion of their work should be free. Again, this is not something I advertise, but every once in a while I'll get called to come and maybe go to a hospital and I'll do complete free healings on that person. It may be more than one or 2 sessions. I know Scarlett's visited hospitals doing healings on children, and there's no payment. So we don't charge for the travel, the healing, none of that. So it's completely free. I don't know if that's the case for all Theta healers, but this is something we do in our company. The other thing is that we have loads of content online. I've got a bunch of free meditations on SoundCloud.
That's how I discovered you.
Right.
Actually, I was trying to do something that's called muscle testing, and we're going to talk about that too. Sure. And that's how I was like, oh yeah, Anna, let's see.
Right, so a lot of people found us through the SoundCloud meditation. So again, there's a range of meditations. There's one for like love and prosperity. There's an energy clearing one. There's a cord cutting one. So it's a really great place to start, and you can listen to it as many times as you like. It's completely free. There's lots of free stuff that we've got online on YouTube and Facebook. Often our team goes live on Facebook and we do energy clearings. So this is where we not only offer healing free for new people, but also offer ongoing support for our community, because our community is across the world. We have students who fly in from all over the world to our classes. So in order for them to continue to support them, those energy clearing sessions are for them too, so that they get continual growth as well. So we're like Bergen, we're like a family.
Well, since we talked a little bit about the muscle testing. You want to teach our audience how to do that? Quickly?
Yes. Yeah. So muscle testings are...
And I'll be like your...
My demo.
Demo, yes.
Okay, okay, all right. So basically, muscle testing is a form of applied kinesiology. It's where we can access the subconscious mind and the beliefs we hold. So you would never use muscle testing to ask for the highest truth, because it's only what you believe to be true.
So it's the truth that is stored in my body, in my subconsciousness.
Yeah, but it may not be the highest truth. So we talked about having distorted belief systems. Right. So for example, on the genetic level, we have beliefs that we've inherited from our ancestors. Beliefs, for example, about women in the workplace.
Right.
So if we think about, so in the category of theta healing, we have what we call the genetic level, which is genetic beliefs going back 7 generations. Right? So if you think about women in the workplace, 7 generations, which is approximately 400 to 500 years ago. Women in the workplace may have been at home on a farm, raising children and working on the crops. Does it make sense? Right? Men in the workplace. In some cultures, men were hunting for their meal, and sometimes they became the hunted. Right? So in modern day age, a lot of men feel a lot of pressure about having to take care of the family. Right? But we live in a modern world now often both couples are working, but they're still running these outdated beliefs. So the husband feels, well, if the wife's working, I'm not providing, then somehow I'm not taking care of my woman. Right? And if the woman earns more money than him, then he feels devalued. Right. Rather than, hey, we're she's making money, pressure off me. He's not seeing it as a good thing. Right. Yeah. So so this, the way you muscle test yourself is your fingers together like this, and you want to hold them nice and firm. Nice and firm. With the other finger, you're going to put it through. Okay, your job is to hold firm, not until you're straining, but firm. And you'll make the statement, yes, yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And you'll pull up.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you say, no, no, no.
No, no, no. Okay.
And it comes through. That's what should happen. Yeah. Okay. And so also it's very important is best not to look at your fingers when this is happening, because if you're looking at your fingers, you're attached to the outcome of the answer. It's like, oh, I don't want to have this horrible belief that I'm fat. So and you'll open your fingers. So the job is to hold firm and just say, I'm going to be firm no matter what. I'm going to let go of my opinion and judgment about what limiting belief I may have. Let's just see what programs my subconscious is running. Okay. Okay. So let's check. I love myself.
I love myself.
Yes, because you've had some healings.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I'm worthy of being loved.
I'm worthy of being loved.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. So let's check. I'm fat.
I'm fat. We did it.
Right. Okay, so now when it goes through, what that means is it's a no, which means our subconscious does not believe that. So obviously, we made that change in you just the other day. So now we're motivated by higher belief, higher ideal, right? That you can choose to eat healthier, you can choose to exercise because it's the way you nourish and love your body temple, and that you want to live a long and healthy life. That's your new motivation instead of, oh my God, I'm not enough. If I'm too fat, nobody will love me, nobody will want me.
Which will eventually turn into disease.
Correct. Or it'll show up in other areas of your life.
Right. So let's do this one, because you talked about Hollywood. Look, it is true. We're all here pressured to stay young forever, and I personally have no judgment over women who do anything to stay young, because this is the society. You can't even ask the person's age here, right? And the way that the person looks will affect if they're gonna get hired, if they're gonna get someone to date them, and not everyone has the right beliefs or whatever. So let's do the same exercise. Because I'm pretty sure I have that one too. Okay. Okay. And we can demonstrate how to change that real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. So what do you think might be a belief that you might have around your beauty, you growing older? What do you think might be some of the beliefs you might be holding?
I am pretty sure I'm scared of getting older.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to do a quick scan.
Okay.
Just to kind of expedite the process. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So this is a genetic belief. It's very, very old. It goes down your mother's line, and it's around mothers grooming their daughters to be beautiful so they can make, it's like a prize. The daughter is the prize. So if she's beautiful and well kept, then she's a prize to get a good husband, and then we can ensure that if she has a good husband, then she'll be financially stable. So it's almost like if the more beautiful she is, the more valuable she is, and she'll get a good husband who'll take care of her financially. Now that may have been relevant, say, I don't know, 500 years ago. I mean, in many cultures, women weren't allowed to work, weren't permitted to work, to even own property. Only, in the last, I think, 60 years, like, women have been allowed to vote. So back in the day, if a woman, came from wealth and she was married, her wealth automatically went to her husband. She wasn't actually allowed to own land or property. So what I'm being shown genetically for you is if you stay young, you stay beautiful, then your value is higher as a woman, then you can ensure this higher prize of a man. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is a genetic belief. It's very, very old. I'm just 8, 9, at least 12 generations back and further. It's also in the collective consciousness of so obviously you've been living in LA for a while, so you've tapped onto the belief systems of LA around the pressure to be beautiful as the way to be the prize, and also this piece around social acceptance. It's like we have to be a certain size and shape to fit into what's socially accepted. So for example, I think it's in Brazil, it's big boobs, big bums.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have implants to have big bums because that's what's considered attractive. In some other cultures, a big belly is seen as attractive, right? Heaven forbid you get a belly in LA.
No.
Right? Suck it in.
Yeah.
Right? So, beauty in different countries, is different. For example, in Burma, in the ancient Burmese would have those neck rings, and the longer the neck, again, the more beautiful. The Chinese had the foot binding. The smaller the feet, the more attractive. So, Victorian times, the waist with the corset, and women having ribs removed. So these are all manifestations of distortions of beauty, all because the woman has to be the prize. You with me? So now you become not human, you become an object. You with me? And this is the big challenge, and it's for women across the world.
It's also aggravating. It really is. I felt it. I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah. So what will happen? What will happen is when you are working with a client, it'll bring up emotion. Sometimes it's very teary. Sometimes the person will become defensive or angry. That's how I know I'm on the right track, that there is some sort of emotional trigger or response to this. Often there's like tears. And so tears aren't always essential for the healing to occur, but I know that I'm down the right track when I strike a chord with a person. Yeah. Okay. So so let's muscle test. So put your fingers together. Okay, I'm going to muscle test you. So put your hands down for me. Okay, so say yes.
Yes.
Okay, say no.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so I have to stay young to be the prize.
I have to stay young to be the prize.
Yeah. Oh, that's a yes. That's a yes.
That was a yes, yeah.
Okay. And so I'm just doing some quick digging, and underneath that is this feeling of, well, if I don't stay young and I'm no longer the prize, then no one will want me and I'll be alone. And it's not so much like a man won't love me, it's like if I grow old, who will be my companion? Who will share life with me?
It's not on the conscious level, but you are hitting into my heart.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it in my body as well. Yeah. So it's and again, in the ancient times, when a woman grew older, her grandchildren would take care of her. She would often live with her grandchildren until she would pass away. We live in a modern day age where we put our elderly into nursing homes. It's like, okay, we write them off. Out of sight, out of mind. Somehow they're no longer useful, right? If you're old, but what I've discovered speaking to, people who are much, much older, they're so wise and they've still got so much to offer. They've got so much to offer.
I love older people.
And if they're taking care of their health, they have all their marbles, they're honoured, they're active, which is why I personally never plan to retire. I'll be doing this till the day I die. I love this. I love this. I'll do it whether I get paid or not. Yeah. For me, it's a mission, it's a purpose. I eat, sleep, breathe, like self-development, transformation, awakening lives. This is like, I've been spending 2 days in your house. You know what I'm like. Yeah. This is my driving force. Right. Yeah. Okay. So now release this belief of this fear of dying alone.
Okay. Before we do that,
sure.
Let's just for the the purposes of to show the process itself. Before we change the belief, let's explain again why this needs to be changed, because it serves me in a certain way, right? Just like we talked about was correct. Like, the other
Yes,
one.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you want to do some digging?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the word?
I'm being very personal.
But I feel, in your vulnerability, I feel a lot of women will resonate. I feel there are millions of women around
Yes.
the world
Yes.
who have the same fear around beauty, around growing older, their fear of not finding their soulmate, the fear that maybe that their soulmate will die before they die, that they'll be alone, and who will take care of them, that if they haven't had children, who will take care of me as I grow older.
Right.
This is a real fear for many people, and maybe not always consciously thinking of it, but it's in the back of their mind.
Okay.
So it can show up as poor eyesight. So the eyes are linked to beliefs about seeing the truth or being afraid to see the truth. So as people's eyesight declines as they get older, the belief running that is, I'm afraid to see the future, that the future is going to be sad or lonely or bleak or poor. And this is why people's eyesight starts to go. So it can show up in the form of eyesight, of fearing the future is going to be difficult. Does it make sense? Or the other way is, let me create some sort of disease like cancer so I die young, so I don't end up being alone.
Right. Not a very nice one.
It's not.
No.
But the subconscious is clever, very clever.
But the other thing is how do you, and tell me if I'm jumping ahead of myself, but like, how do we help people to stay young in the most healthiest, positive way?
Okay, so when I work with my clients and they're looking for longevity, I'm working with a team. So I'm not a nutritionist. So one of the things I'll definitely say is go work with a nutritionist.
Right.
There's a lot of misinformation on the internet about diets. A lot of nonsense gets put on Facebook. So I think a few months ago it was like, oh, grind up eggshells and you get calcium. Well, actually, we can't absorb calcium from eggshells in that way. It's not in the right form. Just like you can't lick a copper plate and get copper. It's the wrong form. It needs to be colloidal form. So there's a lot of nonsense on the internet.
Right.
Even people who claim to be professionals are giving you misinformation, right? So definitely I would go see, definitely a nutritionist, have a look at your diet, eating right for your blood type as well, because I've noticed that some blood types cannot cope with, say, for example, being raw vegan. Literally by 2 o'clock, they're crashing.
That's why I'm not a vegan. I can't.
Okay. And we're also talking about millions of years of evolution.
Yeah.
So some of these blood types may need like a small amount of meat protein every once in a while, but doesn't mean you have to eat protein every single meat protein every single day. So definitely seeing a nutritionist would be one thing. The obvious one is definitely water. I mean, that's the most obvious one. Most people confuse thirst for hunger, and they're thinking that they're hungry, but in fact they're thirsty. So obviously increase the intake of water, because water is life, and your skin will glow. Every cell of your body is lubricated with water. So definitely drinking more water.
We have to.
Right, absolutely. Obviously things like exercise as well, but exercise that you feel joyful. Everything is energy. So if you're doing exercise that feels like it's grueling, you hate it, then as you're doing the exercise, it feels like torture instead of exercise. So for me, I love swimming. During swimming, I'm kind of meditating. I do a lot of my thinking when I'm swimming. I really enjoy yoga. The way I used to exercise was like kickboxing. And
That's me.
Kickboxing, yeah. I used to enjoy that. I don't enjoy it anymore. There's like HIIT workouts and things like that. There's just so many. Like I've got one student who does belly dancing. That's a wonderful way to exercise. Wonderful exercise.
But as long as you love what you're doing.
Exactly.
So it's very positive.
Yeah, so it's about fitting exercise into your lifestyle. So one of the things I do with my family, my kids, is we go trampolining. So I don't know if you have it in the US, but in the UK you've got these trampoline centers, and literally the trampolines are butted up to each other, so you can jump from one trampoline to another. Me and my husband are the only adults on the trampoline. The rest of them are sitting there eating their muffins and coffee, and we're jumping with the kids. And my husband can do flips, and I'm doing my jumps, right? I'm doing my 10,000 steps, right? I'm getting to play with my daughter and my son. We're having like quality time and we're bonding, right? And by the end of it, like I've had a great workout and I've had fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. So that's high intensity. I burn a lot of calories. It's wonderful. So it's about getting creative with the way that you do exercise, rather than thinking, well, I've got to go to the gym, I've got to lift weights, and it's torture. It's not enjoyable. That won't be sustainable, right? You'll do it for a short period of time, and I mean, we see people join in January for a gym. Most people like do 2 or 3 sessions, and then most drop-offs happen in like usually like mid-January. By February, nobody else is going to the gym anymore. The novelties want off.
I don't like gyms. It's my thing. Like I have friends who love to go to the gym. I just don't. It's not my thing. Instead, I go to the park.
Yes.
You know, I have to have this fresh air and, you know, run around. And
I'm the same.
You know.
I'm the same. It just makes no sense to me because I live in Surrey in England, and at the end of my road I've got these big beautiful woods. It makes no sense to me to stand in a gym on a treadmill running with a view of a screen.
Yeah.
Right?
Same token, if it's something that someone absolutely loves, go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But what about the belief system? Like, for example, like with me personally, again, I just don't believe in age. I really don't. I actually happen to believe that people can live way longer and, more importantly, stay young for a long time.
Yes.
I don't believe in number, like the age as a number. And I think the so-called Middle Ages have shifted by at least 20 years. So I think the 60s, you can even stay young in 60s if you want to. You know, it all depends. I think it's all here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, most definitely. Most definitely. So science has shown that if you are more active as you grow older, it actually helps you to stay younger. Science has discovered that parts of the brain continue to be rebuilt, regrow, new neural connections are made, so you can teach an old dog new tricks. This is true. This is true. Yeah. So one of the things we have in Theta Healing, and we teach you on the basic class, is activation of the youth and vitality chromosome.
Ooh, you heard that. I want that one.
You'll have to come class for that one.
I am on the first flight to London.
So this is something that we do, and it's simply disconnecting the student or client from the collective consciousness of aging. And so you disconnect yourself from the collective consciousness about what to expect when you hit 40, hit 50, hit 60. So I think it was when I turned 40, I got a letter from the doctor's surgery that I'm due for a test to check my obesity, check my heart, and a whole bunch of other things. And I read the letter, and I'll be honest, my ego got very triggered. I'm like, do they know who I am? Do they know I'm an energy healer? Right? I really got triggered because they expect that, you know, when you hit 40, that you're going to be overweight, you're going to be smoking and drinking, the health is going to be in a very bad place. And, you know, I'm planning to live for a very long time. I have a mission here on earth. I need to make sure that my body's taken care of. So I'll eat healthy. I do my green juicing. I take my green powders. Like, I do all that sort of stuff, you know. Exercise with my kids. I do things to ensure the state of my health, right? You know, I do treats. I will do treats from every once in a while, but it's not anything to excess. Yeah, so by activating the youth and vitality chromosome, you disconnect yourself from the collective consciousness of what to expect as you get older, whether it's your hearing will go, your eyesight will go, or aches and pains in your bones and creaks like that. You're disconnecting yourself from that. And the program it's replaced with, that you are young and forever regenerating for all present and future bodies, all throughout your body. So essentially you're giving new instructions into your DNA, because your DNA is like, it's like the blueprint for how to build you. The color of your eyes, the shape of your bones, right? Your bones are being etched away and rebuilt every single day, right? You essentially, every cell in your body is being replaced every 7 years. So you basically get a brand new body every 7 years, which makes you wonder, what is aging? What is aging if every cell is recreated, right? It comes down to this mindset and the collective consciousness of growing older. But as we disconnect from the mindset and belief systems of what is expected when you're, 40, 50, 60, in fact, that your body can rejuvenate and grow younger. So if you believe that you are healthy, if you believe you are strong, then you will be. So my belief is that my body is strong. So I'm 43 years old and I can touch my toes.
Yeah.
Right? I can still touch my toes. There are lots of yoga poses I can get into, right? Because of my mindset. And because of my mindset, I expect my body to behave in a certain way.
I can make a prediction. You're going to be 73-year-old and you'll be touching your toes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So
you will look young too.
Thank you.
And which means you are young.
Yes.
That's the thing that, going back to the whole plastic surgery and stuff, which again, no judgment whatsoever. But same token, you can look young, but not actually be young. You know what I mean? So if you balance out those beliefs you're not only looking young, you are young.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yes.
that's the huge benefit.
Exactly.
By the way, I think I'm disconnected from that collective consciousness.
Yeah, you've been working with Skylar, so yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, do you want to change those beliefs?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
So we started talking about how it serves you to have the belief of the fear of being the prize, being beautiful, as a way to avoid being alone. That's where we got to. And so I just want to finish this last piece off, which is how it serves you, you. And so this is something we talked about. So you are a very successful woman, Gia, very successful, self-made woman. I've had a chance to spend some time with you the last couple of days. You've got kind of 4 businesses on the go. You know, we're at a premiere and you're very respected in your industry. You know, you're a self-made woman. You've raised 2 children by yourself. You've done a phenomenal job. And so as a result of being a single mum and raising those 2 children and having successful businesses, it's really made you very independent. You're very powerful, very driven, right? And so there's this fear of, well, if I have this soulmate, they're going to require some time. It might be a distraction, right?
You know what? Skylar said the same thing, but we never dug into it.
Okay. So I feel like this is worth exploring because, again, we talked about, you know, that we live in a modern world where both husband and wife tend to work both, and it's a joint income, right? Mm-hmm. And so if, for example, the woman is single and she's very driven, and I've met lots of very driven, ambitious women, their fear is if they get a soulmate, their fear is, well, then if I have children, my body will go, I'll be less attractive. Or if I have to slow down, have children, then I lose my place in the corporate ladder, and my career will fall behind. Mm-hmm. Or that I'll be dependent on my husband for income, and the fear is I'll have to give away my power to have him take care of me. So then it serves the woman to stay single, be ambitious, be driven. She would like the soulmate, but there's too many benefits here.
Right.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. So can the creator, if you guys are getting triggered by this, if this is you, can we show you that you can have the soulmate and business success, that you can have the soulmate and a family, and the way you do it is through support, right? It takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
It really truly does. And you know, our ancestors, they used to live together, and you know, grandmas, aunties would take care of the children. Mm-hmm. Now we have to hire help. If that's the reality for you, then the universe will bring that support in for you. It could be the neighbor, it could be a good friend, it could be the school mum, it could be a nanny, it could be an au pair for you. So can we show that you can have the soulmate and the career, that there is time for both?
Yes, and you guys can say yes and it'll work for you too.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this will work when you're watching it live as well as the recording. And just, I want you to use your breath, and as you breathe, you can just feel a shift in your body. You might start to feel a bit different. Let's just release this fear of like growing old and being alone, feeling neglected, feeling worthless, feeling outcast, feeling like you've got nothing else to give, nothing of value. So we're going to release that limiting belief. And replace it with the Creator's truth that you are worthy, you are precious, you are special, you are valuable. At any age. Would you like this?
Yeah.
Thank you. So literally, as I'm watching this happening in Gia, I'm also witnessing it for everybody that's going to be watching this. I'm literally just watching your field change with this new program. And with that, other beliefs are collapsing. So I'm not having to go and start pulling lots of different beliefs. With one bottom belief being changed, thousands of other beliefs are coming down. So it's like the pattern is collapsing, and your new frequency is formed. And I feel this, I see it. There's many ways in which I witness this healing. So I'm using my my psychic abilities to witness this. But Creator does the healing. So Creator does the healing and the practitioner witnesses it. Okay, good. So if you watch the recording, you guys got the healing as well. As long as you said yes, you got the healing. And okay, good. Okay, right. So let's check. So we'll must test yourself. Your yeses and nos. So check your yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what do we say? I have to be the prize. What was the belief again? I have to be the prize to... I have to stay young to be the prize.
Right. I have to stay young to be the prize.
No.
No.
Good. Okay. I'm afraid I'll die alone.
I'm afraid I'll die alone.
No.
Nope.
And as you actually said that, I got a flash of your soulmate. I saw him. I saw him.
So next time, next interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so that's how fast and quick it can be. So the creator does the healing. I'm like the practitioner is the witness. Through the awareness, obviously you had some awareness as we were having the conversation, because this is a talking therapy as well. Yeah. You had some awarenesses of how this pattern has coming down the ancestral line, how it was showing up in your life. And you had this aha moment, like, oh, now I understand, I got it. So, I've become very powerful and independent. And as a result of that financial independence, I've done that all without a man. Right, so there's a sense of like self-worth. Well, I did it without a man. Like, therefore, I'm good enough. Does it make sense?
Right.
Whereas most women feel like they have to be in the shadow of a man because the man's career is more important than the woman's. At least for some couples, right? They're standing in the shadow. And so for you, that having that aha moment you actually begin to collapse your own beliefs. You're like, well, I don't want that belief, and it starts to release in your own energy. Yeah. So the client.
I actually had a quick second headache. Once that happened, I was like, interesting.
Yeah, a little ping.
Yeah.
A little ping. Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of creator.
Okay.
What is creator to you?
Okay, so for me, the creator is everything around you. It's the things that you see and you don't see. It's the earth, it's our body, it's nature, it's in the sunlight. Everything you see around you and out in the universe, everything is creator. So I don't perceive creator as some sort of like being in the sky that passes judgment. I don't see that. So as a result of my journey through Theta healing, what I realized Istanbul has taught me how to pray. We don't call it prayer because people think prayer is associated with religion. But whether you call it meditation, prayer, it's essentially the same thing. You're going into stillness to listen to the wisdom within. So God is here,
right,
and out there. It's not separate. It's not, if I'm connecting to a creator, then it's something outside of myself. No, I'm connecting to the divinity within. As I talked about at the beginning of this interview, it's like we are a universe.
Right.
And in the universe, God resides. So it's inside here. But because we have this monkey mind that's like always yapping away, chattering, it's our belief systems, it's our ego, it's all the distractions. We can't hear the voice of the creator or God. And so when we use this meditation to go into stillness, you can begin to hear this wisdom and insight. And when you surrender and let go of any judgment or attachment to what the answer will be, then it's always the perfect answer. But sometimes we get attached to what we want the answer to be. And so as we clear our belief systems, we become a clearer channel for the creator, which is this infinite intelligence that moves through all things, that has created everything.
So for our wonderful intellectuals who are watching us, could we say that the quantum field all around us, like everything there is, creates this one informational field, correct?
Yes.
So by shutting off your mind, you're opening up to the information that is all around us, correct?
Yes.
Which is what creator is.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You almost can think of it as like a matrix.
Right.
And inside that matrix, there's all this information. There's information for what has already happened. So we can consider that as history and past lives, and the potential of what can happen and what has happened. So we talk about, for example, future readings or future lives. The potential always exists. So you can access this information. And so an intuitive will be able to read that information, access specific information. So I can use the energy of the creator to go and access your field for this lifetime. But also I can go into past lives that are affecting you in this life.
Right.
I can also connect to what your soul chose in this incarnation. So you have your soul's purpose and your life purpose, right? What does this body, this human being wish to express through this lifetime? And for you, it's all about creativity. Like you've got so many ideas. If you could, you create 100 businesses, right? It's just the way your mind works. You're just wired that way. It's not about like, do I have an idea? It's like, which one do I choose, right? Yeah, because they would all be wonderful ideas. Yeah, and you've shared many of them with me over the past few days, and it's very exciting what you're working on. But also you have your soul's purpose as well. So the soul can be thought of as the bridge between the creator and this physical body. It's the part of you that's had other experiences. So it could be incarnations as a rock, as a plant, as a being on another planet, as an angel, other expressions. And what creator is as an energy field seeking to grow and expand and know more of itself. Right? It's like imagine like the data file is becoming wider and bigger and bigger, because the potential always exists for infinite possibility. And so when we impress thought upon this formless substance, the unmanifest, it starts to take physical form. So put this into context. So in England, we have a pyramid. It's called the Shard. It's essentially a pyramid-shaped building. Right, so we have a pyramid in the middle of London, but it first started out as an idea in someone's mind. Then it became a sketch on a napkin, and then it became drawings, architectural plans. Then people were pulled in, engineers and architects were pulled in to create the foundations of this building. Right, the materials were brought in to build this building, and now we have this Shard. But it began as an idea in someone's mind, as a thought. But the potential was always there. The potential to create a pyramid in the middle of London was always there. And somebody tapped into that. And there may have been several people that had tapped into the potential of a pyramid, but one person chose to act on it.
Yeah, one thing that I learned from you this time, and I've heard that before, but I didn't really pay attention. I did pay attention, obviously, I remember it, but like it just stood somewhere in the back of my mind, but you brought my attention back to it. Is that whenever you get inspired, act on it. Don't wait, because the idea is out there. You're not the only one who taps into it, right?
Yes.
If you want for you to be the creator of that idea, the one who materializes that into life, then act.
Yes. It's essentially like when you get the light bulb idea, it's like the universe is speaking to you and it's saying, act now. Now's the time. So it's almost imagine like portals or doors opening of opportunity. So you get the idea, and this person, the name of a person enters your mind like, I haven't thought of that person, and maybe I should call them. And you don't know maybe what the reason for the call is, but you don't make the call. On some level, you've missed an opportunity there. But if the moment comes in and you make the call, you have a conversation, one thing leads to another, and hence an opportunity arises. Right. Now, don't feel just because you didn't act there and then that you'll never have another opportunity, because doors open all the time. You don't just get your 5 minutes of fame. Right. That's again a limiting belief. It's a lie when you're told. And for the Hollywood guys, you guys need to release that belief. You get more than 5 minutes of fame. Trust me. You're in charge of your fame. You get lots of opportunities, and as you start to act upon those opportunities, you can become better at being in alignment. So what do we mean by alignment? So a perfect example of being out of alignment is when you're listening to everybody else's opinion. Right? So, you know, what he or she says you should do. And you're getting opinions from people who have actually they have no sense of expertise in what you're trying to do. So there'll be people telling you, oh, well, don't start a business because it's not a good economy. Or don't invest in land right now because land's not doing well, you should invest in Forex. But yet they may have not invested in land themselves or Forex, but people are really quick to give you opinions. So when you're out of alignment is when you're listening to other people's opinions, you're listening to the media, you're listening to the commercials telling you to buy shit you don't need, okay? And this is something, obviously I'm swearing, I'm very passionate about this, where you really need to go into alignment, which is listening to that wisdom within. And so the meditation allows you to go into stillness and say, what is the highest and best for me? So one of the things I've learned as a Theta healer is to ask really good questions. The better the question, the better the answer. So most people walk around and go, what should I do with my life? Like, it's such a broad question. Like, well, maybe you should get a job, right? A house, you know, a husband, maybe have some kids. Like,
stay away from drama.
That's it. Yeah, like, it's such a broad question. So part of my life purpose is to be a mother. I've got 2 children. Part of my life purpose is to be a wife and a lover. Part of my purpose is to be a spiritual teacher, a business coach, a business advisor. There's so many different life purposes I have. So it's such a broad question. But if you ask the universe, okay, what job can I do that will fill me with joy and be of great service to the planet? Now you have a good question, really good question, very specific. And remember I talked about getting information from the field. If you ask a really good question, you're getting a very specific information from the field. And the field will say, okay, you're here to inspire other leaders. Other leaders, they're going to help humanity to clean up the oceans, eliminate child poverty, and empower women across the planet. Like, this is what I'm hearing from that answer. This is part of what was going to fill me with joy and be of greater service, right? Because I've asked a specific question and I got that information from the field. And that's what an experienced energy healer can do, is read that information from the field. And it does take practice, but it starts with asking a good question first. The good question, rather than like, oh, where's my soulmate?
Yeah, but you know what you tapped into, so that is so important. You want a personal gain, right? Think how you can help the collective first. And from that, your personal gain will come.
Thank you.
You know, if you just sit there and worry about your personal benefit, and maybe ripping some other people off because you're not thinking about the collective benefit, you maybe will benefit, but a very short amount of time. It's kind of like so
short-sighted.
Very short-sighted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, could you elaborate on that, but from energetic standpoint? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So in one of our classes, the manifesting and abundance class, we teach the concept of manifesting. It goes beyond what they teach in the Secret of the Law of Attraction, because there are other laws in regards to manifesting.
Many laws.
Many laws. And so when, as students progress through the curriculum, like the basic, advanced, deeper classes, they're clearing beliefs like mummy and daddy issues. It's all like me. Daddy did this to me. My boyfriend did this to me. The government's doing this to me. Me. And I think many of us still have to go through that journey to clear that stuff in order to be a place of, okay, how can I be of service to the world, right? So you have to have your needs met first. So if you are struggling to pay your mortgage and you give everything away, then you will have nothing left for yourself, and you won't be able to help others either. So you must have your needs met first. Right? So when you're on the airplane, they tell you put your gas mask on first, then the children. There's a reason why. Because if you pass out, you can't help the children. So certainly help yourself first. Definitely. Have your needs met. But there comes a time when a second car, a third Rolex, another diamond ring.
Additional wife, like in my movie.
That's it. Extra wives. Yeah. That comes from a deep sense of insecurity.
Like some societies actually have a lot of that on collective level.
Yeah. I mean, we can certainly talk about that, but on a fundamental level, the man feels he's not enough, which he needs to collect more prizes, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the belief that's running that. The greatest love is to really love another soul deeply and completely.
Right.
It's like one soul and another becomes one, and they unite as one. That's the greatest love.
Right.
Yeah.
But going back to collecting things and items.
That's it. Yeah. So you'll get to a certain point where you have your needs met, so your mortgage is paid, the bills are paid. And so we live in a society where it's about mass consumption. So it's a very consumer society. It's I need this must-have handbag that's going to make me feel better about myself, the latest shoes or the latest gadget, the must-have. So it's like a buy as a way to make myself feel more fulfilled. But all that is distractions. It's entertainment. And so you buy the new handbag and it feels new for a day. You've worn it a couple of times and it's like, oh, it's not new anymore. It's not special. And you're like, I still feel like something's missing. Let me go buy something else. So the next weekend you go shopping and you buy something else, a bracelet, or a new lipstick or whatever it is. And so, you end up with a wardrobe full of stuff, and addiction shop in lots of different ways. So for example, some people, will be, really addicted to, purchasing electronics or software, or online courses. Like people buy all sorts of stuff as a form of distraction, right? Addictions like drugs and alcohol, also a distraction. This will make me feel good. Because this, no matter, once you've got your needs met, you still have this feeling of like, there's got to be more to life. And I feel at some point everybody asks themselves that question, like, okay, I've got my job, I've got my house, I've got my kids, I've got, I'm getting good pay, I've got my pension sorted, like life is good. Why am I still not happy? Right? And so, I was talking about this with my client this morning. The greatest happiness is to be of service to others. That everyone feels great when they help the old lady across the road.
Why is that?
Because we are all one. We are all one.
That's where I
when I help you, I help me.
It's on DNA level.
Yeah.
We're like on chemical level. We are deeply societal animal, right? We cannot live without society.
Correct. Yeah. You cannot be an island. Yeah. We all, they were doing some experiments, and this, I think it was a Nazi with Hitler. And what they did is they did this experiment with these babies, where one set of children, they were not touched, they were not held, they were just given their bottles of milk. And another set of children, they were held, cradled, and fed the milk. And the children that received the milk but were not touched died. They all died. But the children that got love and touch, as well as the food, survived. And obviously it's a very cruel example.
It is.
But it illustrates that every human being needs connection. And so when I help somebody else, I make a connection. And it's not necessarily from a self-serving perspective, but it's like, if I help you in your life, then I know I'm helping humanity, and that goes beyond just having my needs met.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I must have to be responsible for other people's happiness, because that's a distorted view. We're not talking about people pleasing here. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about this desire, this pull to be of greater service to others that is beyond our own needs. Because, 10 cars is not going to have you fulfilled. But if you help 10 people, that will fill you with so much joy that will continue beyond your lifetime. So that you, and this is something I've discovered as I've kind of moved into my 40s, the energy and the phase of my life that I'm in is about legacy. And so about a year ago, I heard a speaker talk about this, and she's my age, 43, and she was saying, if I live to 70, I've got less years ahead of me than behind me. How am I making my life count? What world am I leaving for my children? What contribution am I making? And this really struck a chord with me. This is what I had been feeling, is like, yes, like, it's not about me. It's never been about me. Like, the work I do, yes, it makes me feel great and wonderful, and the ego gets like, oh, Anna's fantastic, pat on the back, right? That happens. But the greatest fulfillment is if I touch another life, if I'm able to help a couple fall pregnant, or help somebody increase their income, or help somebody create their passion into a business and create success that's going to help millions of lives, I feel fulfilled. That's going to be my legacy. So after I'm gone from this world, I don't care if I'm not mentioned in history books. It's not about me. It's about what I leave behind on this planet. How am I leaving it in a better place than when I arrived? Yeah.
Impact on the planet. How do you see that impact? Okay, so you work with each one of us, right? Like the people. Then you also obviously work in a collective, correct?
Yes.
I just want you, like, I know to myself what impact on the planet is, but like, I just want you to say that. What you, Theta healers, how do you impact the planet?
So every Theta healer around the world is doing their bit to heal people on an individual level, one-to-one. And so over the course of 11 years, I've worked with over 10,000 people one-to-one, and I've worked from a whole range of challenges and issues. Some of them have gone on to become students of ours, so they've gone on to learn this technique to go and heal other people. So I know that if I teach you Theta healing, and then you go and heal other people, my impact goes beyond the time I spend with you one-to-one, because I know that you go and heal other people, right? So it's like paying it forward. So if I teach you this technique, you heal yourself and you go and heal other people, I could potentially reach thousands and thousands of people through you. Make sense? Now I've taught over 2,000 students. Those have gone on to become practitioners. Some of them have gone on to become instructors as well. So they're now, in fact, teaching other people to become practitioners. And so now it gets magnified and multiplied. So the way we're making impact is, on a one-to-one level, but also on a mass level through the lineage of our students. Make sense? That's the way we're making impact through healing. As a consciousness across the planet, the polarity between the light and the dark, the good versus evil, it's becoming more and more apparent, this time in society, we've got so many resources on the planet that really no child should go hungry. We have enough resources, enough food on the planet to feed every child. It's unfortunately just unevenly distributed, right? So when we do belief work with our students and our clients, their frequency raises, their mindset increases, their self-worth increases, and that starts to impact the I guess this matrix, right? They feel that we're all connected to. So as more and more people are having spiritual awakenings, they may be having like a Kundalini awakening, they may be having an aha moment. I know we've talked about that recently as well. You know, the realization of actually what is God, what actually does that mean? And you had a moment of what we call enlightenment, the realization, I'm not separate, I'm part of all that is. You truly felt that sense of oneness to everything in that moment, that oneness.
I sat with that for 4 hours.
Beautiful.
Couldn't move.
Right.
I was so happy.
The trick is to live from that place when the arseholes are cutting you off on the road.
Yeah.
How to live from a place of enlightenment when you're dealing with the day-to-day, right? And so as you start to clear those beliefs, your frequency raises, your frequency vibrations. There's a really great book called Power versus Force. And Dr. David R. Hawkins talks about this frequency and he measures these frequencies. So he says the average frequency of humanity is what he calls 260 points, let's just say. The energy of love is 500. The energy of joy, I think, is 600. And then we have enlightenment, which is like Christ consciousness or Buddhic consciousness, which is 1,000. And creator, I think, is 20,000, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Right? As we clear the beliefs, our frequency raises. So essentially, our set point becomes higher. So we move from 260, which is basically being neutral, and a level of trust, which means if I show up for work, I trust that you'll pay me. Does that make sense? But in some cultures, the frequency may be lower, which means people are like, we still have, places like, for example, in the Yemen, where we've got genocide happening right now. The frequency may be lower there because of the consciousness of the people and the surrounding nations and what's happening in that country, for example. Right, so the oppression and suppression of women in some of the tribal cultures. So, for example, we talked about female circumcision. It's still happening in the world, even though we know that this is dangerous. Women die because of like blood loss. So the frequency is a low frequency. So as the healers work on themselves and their frequency raises, what happens is and I'm not just saying just Theta healers. There are other healers around the world in other modalities, other techniques that are working on themselves and on their communities to raise the frequency of the planet, right? So what's happening is more and more people are being spontaneously awakened. So the idea is that we all rise together. That's the goal. So this is how I see Theta healers making impact around the world. For me personally, as I mentioned about the shift I'm making in the way I'm doing my business with my second company, the coaching brand, is working as like a spiritual business advisor to entrepreneurs, business owners, legacy leaders who are looking to make an impact. So these are very successful people who've perhaps made their millions and billions, who are like, they're feeling like, I want to do something more just beyond philanthropy, but really make a much bigger impact. So for example, cleaning up the oceans. There's an invention like a turbine that when you put in the ocean, it collects all the plastic that's in the oceans. This became a reality for me when I was on holiday in Bali, and I was on this beautiful beach and all this plastic was washing up on the shore. I physically saw the problem with my own eyes. So this is not a UK problem or US problem. This is a global problem. Yeah. So it's not like, okay, well, the US now needs to devote funds to cleaning up the oceans. It's all the nations of the planets need to collaborate to clean up the oceans because we are one planet. We have these imaginary lines, North Korea, South Korea, right? Canada, these imaginary lines. But we are all occupants of this planet. We don't technically own the land. We are like caretakers of it. Caretakers.
Native Americans say we don't own the land, we borrow it from future generations. I think it's a beautiful say. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So a lot of the people actually are completely selfless, right? There are people that have those beliefs that they should sacrifice themselves for the others. I'll just give you an example, and it's a lot to do with like extreme family cultures that like generationally have been building those beliefs, right? I would take a look at the, and again, no judgment, guys, but like I'd take a look at people's, I don't know, social media accounts, and they would define themselves as a happy wife, or like, you know what I'm saying, the happy mother of 3. I'm not saying there's something wrong about it, but there's not a single word about themselves and what they do. So and what I was thinking about the Theta healing is like maybe some people are like, well, why would I be healing myself? I should be healing, you know, others, like the children, because they are so used to this, like, not almost victimizing themselves, if you know what I mean. So could we talk about that a little bit?
So this is my view. It's not the view necessarily of Vina Stable or Theta Healing, but this is my personal view. So if you sacrifice yourself for everybody else, I believe you do a disservice. I believe it's an energy of martyrdom and a victimhood. Is I'll sacrifice myself for my children. I will set aside what I want, my desires, my personal needs, so I can be a great mother. Right?
Or even identify yourself by being a wife or a mother.
Exactly. And so what then happens is then the children grow up and move out, and so then that woman no longer has a purpose or meaning on her identity, because she attached her identity to being a mother to those children and rearing those children. And so the way it shows up sometimes is the mother is reluctant to let go of her children, so she starts to meddle and influence, you know, say it's her son, he's now married, she meddles in their marriage and tries to get involved because she can't let go of her identity of, well, I have to be useful, I have to be helpful, you need me. You know, I've sacrificed my life for you, I've sacrificed my career and everything else so I can be there for you, and now you're leaving me. So it can create a lot of conflict. So this self-sacrifice energy may seem very, you know, pious on the surface, but underneath there's a lot of distorted programs.
Right.
Distorted programs that your needs don't matter, that the needs of others are more important than your own. Right? Now let's kind of balance this out. So for example, you know, when my newborn was hungry and I was hungry, I would feed my child first. But it didn't mean I didn't feed my child second, feed myself second, right? There's a time and a place to go into self-sacrifice. You know what, I'm willing to forego having my dinner so I can feed my newborn child because they're hungry right now, right? So it needs to be in balance. But if you are constantly sacrificing yourself for other people, giving away all your last penny, right, and having nothing for yourself, exhausting yourself, overworking, and this is typical for healers. And in the past, I've been guilty of this, where I will be seeing clients back to back, back to back, back to back. So I'll arrive at the clinic in Belgravia at 8, I would finish at 2, rush to catch the train, make the school run, do, you know, make sure the kids have got their homework, their dinner, right, do the bedtime stories, then I'm back at my computer for my 8 o'clock and my 9 o'clock clients, for my international clients who are in different time zone. And this was my day for years. For years, I was feeling like I was healing people, making transformation. It was, you know, I was getting paid very well, but I exhausted myself, absolutely exhausted myself, that literally my life became about my work and my mission. I forgot myself. And in that, I forgot my family as well. I forgot my own family because that my devotion to the mission, my devotion to Theta Healing, the promise I made was out of balance with regards to what my needs were, which was rest, exercise, quality time with my family. That sometimes we get so busy making a living, we forget to make a life. And so, as I said, this is my view. I feel when we sacrifice ourselves for others, we do a disservice, not only for ourselves, but because for other people. Because if I'm exhausted, if I'm tired, and my cup is empty, I have nothing to give to anybody else. Nothing's left.
Yeah, I always say only a happy mother can raise happy children.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So when we talked about judgment, there's no judgment, guys. If you want to be the stay-at-home mum and that fulfills you, that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
But it's about not allowing that to be your entire identity, that you are more than just the mother. What else are you? So it's about, you know, having, you know, those other areas of your life that shouldn't be neglected. So we talk about the life wheel, right? Health, recreation, hobbies, interests, wellness, personal development. I mean, this is a big key area that most people overlook, is personal development. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love learning. I love learning. I'm still learning. I've been on this trip in the US and I've been attending workshops and seminars, working with coaches. I love learning because I know if I invest in me, in my personal growth, I become better. I become a better healer, a better coach, a better mother, a better wife. So this is one of a key area for me. So we're looking at shifting from self-sacrifice to being of service, but not the servant.
Right.
Clear distinction.
That's really big. And by the way, that's another trick to staying young. Constantly learn, because you know it prevents like mental diseases and stuff.
Exactly.
But that's a side note. I want to quickly address what you've mentioned earlier. you said that we're living through time when everything became polarized. The dark side became darker and the bright side became brighter. There's a phrase, it gets darker before the dawn. I believe that's what it is, because I don't want people whose lives are right now in that shadow, right? Keep hope.
Yeah.
Staying positive all the time is impossible.
It is. It's an illusion,
and it's also unhealthy sometimes, right?
It's unrealistic.
Yeah.
We as humans, we came for the full human experience. How can you know love if you've not known pain?
Duality.
Correct.
There we go. Essential part. That's one of the laws, right?
That's it. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
So my belief is that pain is part of the human experience. Suffering is a choice. And we can choose to end our own suffering. And we can also choose to help end the suffering of others as well. So, people would, talk about, the poor people of, say, Africa. It's not their karma to suffer. It's our karma to liberate them from the suffering.
Just to kind of like continue with the message of hope, right? A lot of people's biggest fear is death, right? And I personally went through a huge, massive journey that inevitably, hopefully I'm awakened, right? So inevitably brought me here, made me friends with you and Skylar and like all these beautiful, incredible people, because my mom passed away in 2010, and I just couldn't. I couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept the fact that she was gone. Yeah, and that's how my journey began, obviously. So that actually brought me to the discovery of the fact. Now I fully believe that there is no death. There is a transformation, right?
Correct.
And that actually was one of these incredible points that changed my life forever. Because when I really did realize that, I know that I will see my parents again, you know what I mean? And even though I'm not in a hurry, I am also, I know it'll be like a lovely encounter, right? But in the other hand, it's not even an encounter, they are here, right? Would you talk on that?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, there is no death. So science says that energy is always moving into form, right? So, we talk about ice, melting into water, steam, ether, gas. So energy is always shifting from one form to another. And so when our physical body dies, the spirit lives on, it continues. And it continues in another form, another frequency. We call this the fourth plane, or the ancestor realm in Theta healing. And so it's all people have gone before us. And so we have many kind of ceremonies and practices in culture that honor the dead. So for example, Halloween used to be the celebration of the dead. So we have it in Mexico, we have it in Polish tradition as well, that during the time of October, the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest. And we used to be able to connect and speak with our ancestors. And this is a way where we were able to have closure. Because often what happens if you couldn't accept the death of your mum, somehow you didn't get closure. You didn't get to say goodbye. You didn't get to say I'm sorry. You didn't get to say I love you. Right, and that leaves this unfinished business, and so and sometimes when a person is unwilling to go through the grieving process, it can create problems. It can create emotional problems. It can lead to, for example, anxiety, depression, other emotional challenges, because the person's not allowing themselves to go through the grieving process. So when the person dies, our physical DNA is missing the DNA of that person. So like you're looking for that person in this realm, on this earth, you're missing for that flesh and blood that is so familiar. The smell of your mum, her voice,
skin texture,
all of that. And the things that she would do and say that would make you feel like, I belong, because she's like your anchor. She brought you into the world and she's your anchor. So it's a sense of like, where's my fitting in and belonging onto this planet? And I'm missing that DNA. And so physically, the physical body goes through a grieving process. So literally the cells are crying because they're mourning the loss of this DNA. once that transition is done, the next part is the emotional part. The emotional part of, I miss this person because I didn't get to say goodbye, or I wished I hadn't said that thing that I said because we didn't leave on good terms, or even worse, we didn't speak and they died, or I missed them, I didn't get to the airport in time. And so there's all this emotion like regret, the regret of what I should have said and should have done. So all this can lead to emotional issues of like feeling unfinished and tormented. And so if it's not resolved, it can cause problems for a client and can keep a client stuck. So the ancestors are here. They're always around us. Sometimes an ancestor spirit will be around you during specific times. So for example, if you know your parents died before you had your wedding day, they will be on the wedding day in spirit form. Their presence will be felt. Their physical body may not be there, but the spirit will come. Or the birth of a child, they'll be there, they'll come. And so there are many healers around the world who can see the dead and speak to the dead. And we do teach that on the advanced class. It's called mediumship, where we can connect to an ancestor to have a completion. And so when I've been working with clients to help let go of an ancestor and to move on with their life, one of the beautiful gifts that our ancestors leave is the reminder of how precious life is. We focus our attention from losing that loved one and now they're gone to what is left in my life. So it's a recalibration. When we lose a family member or even a child, the death of a child, one of the worst things a parent could ever experience, what they're left with is the preciousness of life that you may not have as long as you think you do. You know, you're counting that you may live to 70 or 80, but you may not have as long as you think you do. And so the gift that the dead leave us is the reminder of how life is precious and what's important while you are alive. And so we come back to this legacy of what are you doing with your life on a day-to-day basis?
Right. Exactly.
Are you enjoying it? Are you helping others? What is your contribution? How are you feeling fulfilled? That's the gift. But just know, anytime you can connect to an ancestor, either your mother, grandfather, or even ancestors many generations back. Sometimes in our healing work, we may go back to ancient ancestors, and they will have messages, and they'll be so proud because you, Gia, are the survivor of your ancestors, a powerful, tribal, nomadic people. You are the survivor of that. You carry that message of strength and hope and determination, and it shows up in your business. That's where it manifests. It shows up in your creativity with the movies that you make. So they are so proud, Gia. They are so proud of that their lineage continued in you, and how you are having a global impact by the stories you tell.
Thank you. But I think each one of us is that top of that pyramid of incredible people who lived, survived, thrived, so we can walk today. We should never forget. And this is why I think it's so important to remember the legacy that they left for you. Because if you allow someone to walk all over you, if you allow someone to use and abuse you, then what you're ultimately doing is you're allowing all that love and work and survival and all of that, that your ancestors have done. You allow that particular person to walk all over that, not just you, because you're never just you. Anna, you are amazing, and I can talk to you forever, which I'm sure we'll continue doing after this interview. But thank you so much. I think it's wonderful and majestic that you are here today. We didn't plan it, but it happened that way. Huge serendipity. And thank you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you, Gia.